How we doing, guys? Welcome to another Friday Waffle. Excuse me a second. Yep, I trust you're all well. Trust you've all had a fairly decent week. It's been, weather-wise, it's been kind of variable. I think that's probably the best word to use. It's gone from like winter. I mean, I think the start of the week the weather was just bloody awful. It was freezing cold. We had like torrential rain. Really cold. I'm talking about 4 or 5 degrees. And yet today, Friday, it's absolutely glorious. I mean, we're now in the first week in June, so it should be nice. I'm conscious anytime I watch these videos back, I always seem to have a wee furrowed brow. That must be something that just happens with age. Yeah, anyway, what have I been up to this week? Apart from work and everything else, gaming wise, what have I been doing? Not been playing a great deal. There's something I've been playing which I can't remember for the life of me what it's been. Yeah, a game that I've been playing and I can thoroughly recommend it. It's called Zookeeper. No, I don't mean the classic Zookeeper, which came out in arcades back in 1908. I'm talking about Zookeeper. It was originally released on the Nintendo DS and is also out on, it's certainly out on iOS even, on my phone. If you've never heard of Zookeeper, it's like a lot of these games. It's similar to kind of Candy Crush and all these bloody things. Except Zookeeper was out way before these games. You've basically got to try and line up 3 animals in a line and then they disappear, but it's stupidly addictive. It's got really good music. I think it costs something like 99p, so go and check it out. It's an absolutely addictive game. It really is. So I've been playing a bit of that. It's one of these perfect toilet time games. Yeah, what else? I was through at my mate George's house on whatever day it was, Wednesday I think it was. George, I bought an Apple, is it a Mac Mini they call it? It's basically, it's the size of a router. It's fairly old. I paid about £100 for it now. I bought it primarily to use as a sort of a media server, and you know what, I just can't get to grips with iOS. I've never really used them. In fact, I've never ever used a Mac until I got this thing. I've got it connected up to the big TV and I've tried and I just can't. I don't use it enough to really get familiar with the operating system. So I asked my mate George if he would, I know it was sacrilege, what he did was he partitioned it and he's put Windows 7 on it, and what I've done is I've turned it into just an emulation station. I've got it connected to the big TV downstairs, I've got MAME in it, I've got an Amiga emulator on it, I've got in fact I've got my Maximus arcade. In fact, what I've actually got in it, what I have in my MAME cab is a front end with various stuff, and what I've actually done is I've transferred that across to this Mac Mini, so it means I've now got, as well as a MAME cab, I've also got this Mac Mini downstairs on the big TV, which I can run all the different emulators, because you can never have too many ways to play MAME as far as I'm concerned. So yeah, the only game that we actually tried was George showed me Grand Theft Auto 5 on the PC. Now I was quite interested to see just what it looked like. The one on the PS4 looks, as far as I'm concerned, looks astonishing. Now any top end PC owner would always diss consoles, saying it's like 10-year-old or 6-year-old technology. Now I've got a fairly decent computer, and yeah, you know, you've got it in higher res, but the big thing for the PCs which they have over consoles, apart from the sort of slightly sharper graphics, is the fact it runs at 60 frames a second. Now that was something that never ever bothered me. People used to talk about games running at 30 frames a second and 60 frames a second, and I never really got it. I couldn't quite understand what the excitement was about a 60 frame second game as opposed to a 30-second game. But however, having seen games run at 60 frames a second, I can completely get it. Games just run so much smoother, and it's the same in this Grand Theft Auto 5. It looks, it doesn't, yeah, it does. It's got some really amazing kind of sort of lighting effects. You know, you've got traffic lights. When you're walking past traffic lights, you see the green or the red kind of reflecting on the sort of like the paintwork of the car or whatever. It is really stunning looking. But one thing that I thought was quite funny is George put in some cheats, infinite energy, infinite ammo, and what he was basically doing, he was running about just shooting the hell out of things, blowing people up, shooting helicopters at the sky. The police were turning up, and it was amazing just to see, you know, total carnage basically. It's like going postal, wiping out everything, and it just got me thinking how, you know, there's a lot of these things that kick off in the newspapers and in the media. Some kid goes on a rampage in a school, shoots 10 people dead. Then they discover that he played an Xbox, he played Doom, he played Call of Duty, whatever it is, and then they try and blame video games. Now, I am one of the most pacifistic, is that a right word? Pacifist? I don't like violence like most people. I'm not into violence at all. I'm the type of person that I couldn't ever kill a bee or an insect or a wasp or anything. I would much rather catch it and release it alive, such as my you know, I'm one of these people that think every animal, insect has got a right to live. So yeah, I'm the most unviolent person you could ever meet, but it's absolutely phenomenal fun running about in these games, shooting people through the head, blowing them up, just doing absolutely stupid things, you know, and it doesn't make us violent. So yeah, I think this whole video games can make little Johnny violent, I think that is a complete load of bollocks. Anyway, right, what was it else I was going to talk about? Excuse me. There was something else I was going to say. I'm going to pause it right now actually. Yeah, now Sunday I saw a video by a chap called Robert Florence. Now, anybody that may not know him, they might have, if you're lucky, watched Robert Florence and I can't remember the other name, the other guy. They basically put out on the internet a series called Consolvania. It was I don't even know what you would call it. It's a comedy show. Both guys are Scottish. It was a comedy show and it was based around video games, but it had a lot of real weird stuff going on. But it's absolutely hilarious. What to do is go into YouTube. If you're watching me now, then you're on YouTube. Just cancel my video right now and go and Google Consolvania and watch them. Absolutely fantastic. But one of the guys, I mean, that was I think the last one was made, it must have been probably 2003, something like that. It's not been made for a long time. But one of the guys, Robert Florence, he put a video out and he was basically just talking about, he was talking about his childhood in relation to games, and he was talking about, what was the name of the game? Shogun Armour Division or something. He was talking about a game that he used to play all the time, and he was on about how he was so familiar with the landscape and the world that the game was set in, that he, as well as having memories of like being a child growing up, he's also got memories of being in this game. And he was just talking about how a video game can leave you with memories that your brain can almost interpret as being almost kind of real. And I totally get what he's meaning. I mean, I'm not a big, I tend not to complete a lot of games, but I've played a lot of games, obviously, first person shooters. I mean, there's so many games when you think about it. I mean, like, I've completed Half-Life, I've completed Half-Life 2. I mean, I've completed probably quite a few sort of like third person shooters, or is it first person shooters I should say, where you're actually looking through the eyes. And some of these games are so immersive that when you're playing it, you really do kind of feel like you're actually taking part in it. And you know, even now I can think of sort of like specific levels and things that have happened in a game and I can kind of struggle to remember what particular game that was from. You know, things like Resident Evil, going to the church and, you know, getting attacked with dogs and things like that. And, you know, because you're watching it through your own eyes, basically, you know, you are taking part in the game. It is, although you know you're not, you can comprehend that it's not real life, but it's as much a memory as going down to the chip shop or going to the pub with your pal, because you're actually viewing this world, albeit a sort of man-made world, through your own eyes. And yeah, you know, so I can totally get what he's saying, is that, you know, I've got memories of games, or I've got memories of things, and it may, you know, it's not real. I know it wasn't real, it was a computer game, but that's the sort of stage we've got with some games now, that they are so realistic when you play them. You know, you've kind of almost got to think, wait a minute, that didn't really happen. You know, that was in a game. But yeah, I don't quite know where I'm going with this, but that's what he was talking about. But yeah, it's quite an interesting thing, I thought. But this one thing I'm going to do, guys. This is something I've been meaning to do for quite a long time. Back in 1985, yep, probably half of you that are watching this weren't even born. I kept a diary. Now, I didn't keep it for very long, but what I want to do is I just want to read out some of the pages that I did keep, and it basically shows you my infatuation with the computer back in 1985. I mean, I didn't start the diary until, when did I start it? I didn't actually start keeping the diary until June. Yeah, my very first entry out of our missus was on the 15th of June. You can see there, 1985. But just to show you how ingrained my computer was in my life, I mean, this is when I was playing my computer all the time. What am I saying here? What I decided to do was write a word on every page. What did I say here? Let's see. Happy New Year. I did not start writing a diary until the 15th of June, so I thought I'd better fill in these spare pages, blah blah blah. Let's cut to chase. I go on to mention, say hello to all my different friends and family. Let's see, where is it? This is so 80s. Like, I've kind of skipped it. And to everyone who knows me, and anybody I've forgotten to mention. Now, this is obviously back in the day. Games had they were cracked by crackers, and they always put a wee scrolling message, and it usually finished up saying hello to everybody. So this is me sort of trying to do this. And I must mention, make a very, very special mention. I don't know if you can see there my Sony Walkman tape. A very special mention must go to my old faithful computer, the Commodore 64, which I personally think beats the old pocket calculator, the Spectrum. There you go. Now, I don't know if you can see that. It's actually running a picture. You can see that I've drawn a picture in Nightlow. There you go. Anyway, that's guff. Let's just flick through this. So let's see. I'm just going to read out the bits for the computer. Saturday, June the 15th, 1985. Did I mention the computer in this particular bit? No, I didn't actually. That's a first. Next one, didn't mention it there. Let's flick this. Let me just flick through. Right, okay, here we go. This is yeah. Drove up to this is 19th of June. Drove up to the computer club. That bleeding Susan McIntosh and co were there, bleeding pain in the necks. I went straight in at 9:15. Had to carry computer stuff all the way down, very heavy. Set up computer, etc. Got Congo Bongo, crap, and Theatre Europe, good. Played computer for a while, got ready for bed, then made toast and coffee, lay in bed and read Zap magazine. Time is now 2:29 AM. Bloody hell. No wonder I was tired back then. There we go. June the 20, sorry, Friday the 21st of June. Played pool, blah blah blah. Bob came at 11:15. This is at night time. Sat outside, came in, played summer games. Bob used netties, this is a different one. Every event the same, no matter. Sorry, every event somehow, no matter score, was a new world record. Played 2 games of international soccer, 1 all, both 3-2 in goals. Blah blah blah. Right, sorry, this is kind of dragging on a wee bit. Let me have another wee gander. I was convinced that I was on the computer every single day. Well, here we go. June the 26th, 1985. I'd been working, blah 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 blah. Walked down the road with Bob, Don, Graham, etc. Made fish and chips for tea. Played 1 game of summer games and 4 games of international soccer. 2 games all. Bob left at 1:30. Blah blah blah. Chatted. Right, here we go. This is the 30th of June. Played Elite at 10:30. Hugh left. I played Drop Zone, then Elite. Right, wait a minute. There's one. Right, here we go. This is the classic. Now I don't know if you can see here. I've got a wee kind of picture of 2 stickmen. One has got an exploding fist, which might be an indication of what was to come. Up at this is the 2nd of July 1985. Up at 10:30, Grant called with exploding fist. Good game, played it for a while. Blah 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 blah. Attempted to fix Spade, watched Coronation Street. Grant called at 6:30, watched EastEnders. Came down, played computer. Played computer, had competition on exploding fist. Grant won, Alan was 2nd, Gavin was 3rd. 3rd of July, had tea, came back down, played exploding fist yet again, went up to garage, played, what was that? Tennis. Alright, okay, that was when I was still at school. Came down and baked scones, 8 scones, came down to room, played exploding fist, then played computer Monopoly. Grant had humiliating defeat. Yeah, I don't think there's a single game where I never actually played the computer. Yeah, sorry guys, that was probably slightly rubbish. I thought there was going to be a lot more in this, but alas not. There you go, 30th of December 1985. Sorry, I'm talking now, this was later on. 27th of April 1988. Bought Ford Escort Mark II FFS 747N. No, I didn't actually see how much I paid. There we go. 7th of May 1988. Bought Vauxhall Chevette. Mileage 73,000 miles. Paid £450. If only. If only. Yeah, anyway, listen, I'm kind of waffling a bit. Right, okay, that's that. Right, question time, guys. Not got too many here to talk about. In fact, I'm just going to pause it for a second. Right, yep, questions. just got three sets of questions. Brian, he's posted this question for a couple of weeks and I completely missed it. But and I don't think he was posting it in the right bit, so I actually blame Brian. Pardon me. What do you think about Ashen's book, The Terrible Old Games You've Probably Never Heard Of? Now, for anybody that doesn't know who Ashens is a chap called Stuart Ashens. He's an English comedian, oblique actor, part-time actor. He's been a YouTuber for I don't know how many years. He's got something like 300,000 subscribers, so he's slightly more popular than myself by about 299 whatever it is thousand subscribers. Yeah, but he's really funny. His meat and bones of his YouTube channel is he basically gets given crap things, old tat as he likes to call it, and he reviews it. People send him old food which he eats. He buys stuff out of Poundland and he basically does a kind of review of them. But he's really funny. But Stuart's actually what he also does sometimes is he'll dig out a really crusty old game that nobody's ever heard of. Kind of similar, I suppose, what I started my channel up about. I mean, my 10-minute mashup was basically going to be crap games, and that's kind of what Stuart does. Albeit he does it much better than I could ever do. But what he's doing is he's bringing out a game called Terrible Old Games, and it's going to just be a compendium of old games that old crap games, I should say. What do I think of it? Knowing Stuart, or at least watching his channel, he's very entertaining. He really is. He's got a really good sort of, the way he speaks. He's just a natural kind of comedian. Really good. Yeah, it's on a Kickstarter program type thing. Apparently, he's the way Kickstarter works. You have to set the amount of money you need. And then if it reaches that, if people put money in and it reaches that, then the Kickstarter program will go ahead. And in the case of this, apparently it's gone way over what he was actually asking for, so it's something that's going to go ahead. So yeah, looking forward to seeing that. But what Brian's asking is, what do you think of the whole Unbound thing, which is like a Kickstarter for books? Now, Kickstarters, I've always been a wee bit kind of suspicious of them, because what they're basically wanting people to do is they want others to fund their project, and apparently there's no guarantee of you getting anything back. Now I think that's the way it works. So if I was to put a Kickstarter up, say for £10,000 for me to bring out a book, if I had enough people pledge money and it comes to more than £10,000, then that Kickstarter would then be successful and I could then go ahead and try and write the book. But I don't think there's anything to stop me not producing the book. I'm not sure if that's the case. So I've always kind of thought, well, there's people like the Oliver twins and what's his face, Peter Molyneux, and other people, even was it David Braben? I mean, the most famous Kickstarter is probably Elite, the new Elite. That was funded using Kickstarter. And I've always thought, well, some of these guys are millionaires. Why do they need other people's money? And I still kind of stand by that. But at the end of the day, I suppose it's a good way of getting people to pledge their interest in something, because some of these things just would not happen because it's too risky. People don't want to go putting a lot of money into something, putting a lot of time and effort into something. Then when it actually comes to release, people aren't interested. So I suppose the Kickstarter thing is good because it means that you're getting people's interest up front. So yeah, if that means you're going to get some fine books, then why not? I'm all for that. So yeah, Jamie Williamson is asking, Alien Isolation looks a bit brown trousery. What was the first game you played that properly scared you or creeped you out? Game wise, the first game that was a genuine jumping out your seat computer game would have to be Rescue on Fractalis on the Commodore 64. Now it also came out for the Atari ST. Now anybody that's not played the game, you're basically flying over a sort of a landscape. It's like a mountain range, but what it does is it uses what's called fractals. It's a kind of mathematical graphic type thing, and it's like a snowflake. No matter how much you zoom into a snowflake, it'll never end. You just keep getting more and more and more. You could virtually zoom in indefinitely. Now these were called fractal graphics. They developed a process on a computer that would generate fractal graphics. Now Rescue on Fractalis, the step for a hint is in the actual name. It used fractal processing to sort of draw this mountain range. It looks really, really good. But the idea of the game was you had to try and rescue these sort of downed pilots. Now what you didn't realise, or what you did know but you didn't always know at the time, there was actually aliens who were also in the mountain range. So you could see what you thought was a space pilot. You would land your spaceship. Then what you would hear like you'd hear the footsteps getting closer to the door. Then when the guy got to the door, you would hear boop, 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 banging on the door. And then what you would do is you open the door, and you'd hear the wee footsteps of the guy coming up the stairs into the spaceship. But what would sometimes happen, you would hear the guy knocking on the door, you would open the door, then just suddenly you would get this alien's face appearing on the screen, sort of banging in the windscreen, and honestly, you absolutely shit yourself. It definitely was the first and probably the only scary game that I've ever played in the Commodore 64. I've played some scary games, but not for that reason, usually scarily bad. But yeah, that's Rescue on Fractalis. That was definitely the first jumping out your seat game. More modern games, what could I say? I mean, Resident Evil 4. Resident Evil 4 is a scary game, but I can't say there's any real jumping out your pants moment. No, I don't think so. I'm trying to think. There's been a few games. What's it called? There's a game for the 360 that I've got, and it's one of these ones. It's got a kind of. In fact, I'll tell you. You know exactly. Yeah, I'm talking rubbish. One game that I played very briefly on the PlayStation 2. Is it called Red Siren? Or Siren something? I can't even remember the name of it. That was the Japanese name for it. It was released in America with a different name. But what this game actually had was it kind of adopted the sort of like the, what's that horror film, the one with the wee Chinese girl with the long hair, is it the Tape or something it's called, whatever it is, where the wee girl appears out the TV with sort of hair over the face, you can't see her eyes. Well, listen to me, this game, it was a suspense kind of horror, or psychological horror, I think that's the sort of term they like to use for these things. But you played the part of the person, the kind of goody, the person getting stalked. But what would happen, you could be walking somewhere, and then it would suddenly cut to the viewpoint of the baddie, and you would hear this sort of heavy breathing. So you could be walking, then suddenly it would cut to the baddie. You couldn't see the baddie, you were basically looking out the baddie's eyes, and you could see you in the distance, and this thing is running towards you. Then it would cut back to you again, and you'd be like, fuck. You'd be turning around looking for this thing coming towards you, and it was genuinely unnerving, it really was. It's got some of the most terrifyingly bad voice acting ever. It really is bad, but it was shit scaringly bad. It really was. It was clever the way it kind of, you could see, it's like they do in the films where you see somebody banging on a door trying to get in, and you can just see this thing getting closer, and the person's banging, and it would cut to the body, and you'd see this thing getting closer and closer and closer. It really was really effective. I suppose the obvious jump out your seat, which would be the first generation, would have been Resident Evil, the bit where the dogs jump through the window. That was, I can still remember where I was when I first saw that. It was a Sunday morning. I had just bought the game, and I put that on. I was showing my mate it, and suddenly you're running along this corridor, and the dog jumps through the windscreen. Not the windscreen, jumps through the glass. That was a real scary moment. Yeah, but yeah, that Siren game. I think it's Sirens or something it's called. PS2. That is definitely worth checking out. It's a psychological horror along the similar lines to like Silent Hill and that kind of stuff. So yeah. Hey, what was the first game that blew you away with its technical prowess? Obviously a lot of classic games are great at this time, but which was the first one that made you think, how the hell did they manage that? First game that blew you away with its technical prowess. I suppose in the C6, the C64, you couldn't really say, it was good at arcade games, but it wasn't great when it came to 3D stuff. Probably Elite. When I first saw Elite, I remember it was like, a serious what the fuck moment. It was like you felt like you were living, you'd seen the future of games. Here was this sort of 3D type game that was pretty incredible. A game, I'm just trying to think, a game that blew me away with its technical prowess. I'm just trying to think. There has been. I don't know. I suppose. It's hard to. We're kind of used to. We're just used to games having awesome graphics and awesome sound and what have you. I can always remember being really blown away when I first saw Ridge Racer on the PlayStation. We'd gone from like VGA graphics in the PC, an attempt at 3D, and here was this sort of arcade perfect game on your big TV. So that was seriously impressive. Doom again. That was incredible. I always remember my mate buying Doom. He bought a PC just to play Doom, and I went up to his house to see it, and this was just incredible, absolutely incredible. But I'm trying to think of any game, and the same with like Arkanoid and Atari ST, going from a Commodore 64, and I was the first, or my mate was the first person that I knew that owned an Atari ST, so I'd never seen an Atari ST in the flesh other than, in magazines and that kind of stuff. So yeah, when I saw that kind of blew me away. But I can't think of any like seriously awesome game with graphics, because really since the sort of PlayStation 2, Xbox, we've just been kind of reared on amazing graphics, and every next gen that comes out is always just that bit better. But I've never really had a serious game blown my mind since moving from sort of 8-bit to 16-bit. We've just become used to, and I suppose you could say we've become spoiled with some of the with the graphics that we're kind of used to nowadays. So yeah, what games, past or present, do people, your mates, reviewers, etc., go mad for that you think are really a bit shite? Well, I must admit, I'm trying to think. Games, I could turn this around and say games that people rate that I've never really played, I can't get into at all. Stuff like Assassin's Creed. Never played any Assassin's Creed, I've got no desire to play them. Zelda. you know, people rave about how good Zelda is, how fantastic it is. And again, it's just, it kind of completely washes over me. Washes over me. Anything else? Games that people rave about. Dare I even say things like Super Mario Land? No, I'm not for 1 second saying that Super Mario Land's not a good game, but again, I've just never really gotten into it, and yeah, it's a bit meh. You know, people going about how wonderful it is, and it's like the best game ever. In fact, not Super Mario Land, was it Super Mario 3 on the NES and SNES? People rave about that being one of the best games ever. And I've tried it and I just can't really get on with it at all. It's just, yeah, it just doesn't float my boat at all. No, I think that's it, Jamie. Yeah, probably the Zelda games really just leave me cold. Tends to be big games that require a lot of input tend to wash over me, because I just don't have the time to play these games, and so that's why I tend to kind of ignore them and probably just don't really go on with them. Excuse me. Okay, last one from Jamie. Reverse question. What games are your guilty pleasure? I hate that phrase, as no one should ever feel guilt over their personal tastes, but you know what I mean. Games that everyone insists are shite that you love. A game that everybody says is shite but I love. I suppose you could say a lot of retro games. Sorry, wash my mouth out with soap. Any classic games. A lot of people now would look down their nose at things like Robotron and Donkey Kong. I suppose Berserk. Berserk's not a game that many people really like. Is there any awful game that I enjoy playing? I can't think of anything sort of off the top of my head. I mean, there's some knowingly kind of awful games like Football Manager. I mean, I know that was a classic back in the day. You know, I used to love playing Football Manager. People have now moved on to things like Premiership Manager and that, but I mean, I was playing Football Manager on the Commodore maybe 2 or 3 years ago. Really simple, awful graphics, but I loved it. Yeah, there's a game that I mentioned, and I'll absolutely need to do a 10-minute mashup. It's probably one of the worst games you'd ever likely see. It's called The Fabulous Wonder. It's written in BASIC. It might be part machine code, I'm not sure, but it's definitely written in BASIC. And it was for the Commodore 64. Just Google it, The Fabulous Wonder, or else wait for me to do a mashup of it. Written in BASIC, an absolutely diabolical game, but there was one section where you had to make money, and I think it was a question of doing like higher or lower, and you bet money, and then it was higher or lower, whatever it was. And I can remember me and a mate, we got quite addicted to this particular little bonus game, and it was written in BASIC, and you know, there was no graphics to speak of. All you got was, you know, you picked you have to say higher or lower, higher, and your money would be doubled. And we became addicted to just trying to get as much money out of this game as possible. As I say, it's called The Fabulous Wonder. It was written in BASIC. It probably came out in something like 1982 for the Commodore 64. It's a bloody god-awful game, but I absolutely loved playing this little gambling section. I don't know what it was that attracted me to it, but I just loved it to bits. Really did, but I can't think of anything else offhand. Bad games that other people. I mean, there's games like Rocket Ball, which I've mentioned before in the C64. It's a game that not many people have even heard of. It's not to say it's a bad game at all. I mean, I love it. But I can't think. I'm just looking up at my list of games. There was a game for the PlayStation, and it was it one of the official Olympic games, and it got absolutely god-awful reviews, but it was a bloody brilliant joystick waggler. I loved it to bits. It was like the decathlon, but it was so precise. You know, it was a joystick waggler's dream, shall we say, but it got, I think it got something like 12% in a PlayStation magazine, but I loved it. You know, it didn't bother me that the graphics were shite. It just played really, really well, and I loved competing against myself and trying to break my high scores. So yeah, that's another one. I can't remember what it was called. Was it Summer Olympics or something? It was a really, really early game on the PlayStation. But yeah, I think that was that one. I'm just going to pause it a second, guys. Okay, right, the very, very last question is by Kevin. Thanks, Kevin. Down the rabbit hole. Kevin is asking, "Hi Alan, do you mind putting on glasses or a visor for gaming? It seems with so many VR headsets coming, lots of people are complaining the way they did about watching 3D movies with glasses on." I've not had much experience, to be honest with you, Kevin, playing these kind of games. I have had a shot of my mate's Oculus Rift, and I've got to say it's incredible. I mean, I don't know if you've tried it yourself. It really is amazing. You know, it's so immersive. I can completely get, you know, this is the next thing. It really is. It's absolutely incredible. But, and it's a big but, I wouldn't buy one for several reasons. One, it's still kind of beta sort of thing, which isn't really answer your question at all. But the second reason would be, it's probably the fact you've got to wear a headset. I mean, it's bad enough me sitting up here in my games room, sitting with a joypad, playing a game, whatever. But I can just imagine my wife's reaction if she's shouting from downstairs and I'm sitting with a big bloody headset on, speakers or, you know, headphones on. You're completely immersed in the game. I mean, in fact, what makes these games good is the fact that you're completely immersed. But what the flip side of that is, anybody that looks at you, firstly, you look like a complete dick with this headset on, and secondly, I don't think it would go down too well with people if you're sitting in a bedroom, you can't hear what's going on. You know, you've got this headset on, you've got the speakers on. You know, I just I don't think that would go down too well. But I don't think it's particularly healthy sitting with headsets on. I mean, that's why I've had no real inclination to go and get a 3D TV or watch 3D films. It's not really something I'm that big on. You know, possibly down the line if my TV was to go in the blink, if there was a sort of like a glasses free TV, then I would maybe get one, but probably because you couldn't not get one. But I mean, I've got the Virtual Boy. I'll let you see it. Oops. Yeah. There's a Virtual Boy. That's it's excellent. I have done you probably see this getting used at the start of my videos. But yeah, I mean, you always look like a bit of a tosser with these things on, but I do understand that, you know, for 3D, this is what you've really got to put on. You do have to rely on some sort of headset. It could be that in the future you will get. Then again, I'm thinking aloud here. Yeah, you could get away with films, you know, sort of glasses free films, because you're just looking into the screen. But the thing with Oculus Rift, when you turn around like that, if you're playing Elite, you turn around and you look behind you, you can see behind you. So yeah, you wouldn't get that if your game is in 3D just in front of you. All you would get would be the going into the screen. If you turn around, you're also not looking at the screen, so you're not going to see anything. So yeah, I can't see any workaround for gaming like the Oculus Rift. I can't see it would be impossible unless you had TVs all the way around you, but it would look shite. The thing about the Oculus Rift, when you've got one of these things on your head, you are actually in the game. You're physically inside the game. I mean, I think I mentioned when I was at Play Blackpool about a month ago, I was playing TXK, you know, the Lamasoft game, which has been pulled by Atari, but anyway, I'm not going into that just now. And you're actually in the game. You're looking behind you. You can see the grid behind you. The grid is all the way around you, so you're actually inside the game. So it's a unique experience. It's hard to really describe it unless you've actually had a chance to try it. But yeah, I mean, I don't see myself ever getting an Oculus Rift. Maybe if they came down to maybe 50 quid, then it's the kind of thing you'd probably say, how can you afford to not have it? But they're still £300, they're still quite pricey, and they're not really, they're still beta. You know, you can't just go in and download loads of different games. There's not that many games that actually support the Oculus Rift. So until it becomes more mainstream, I mean, possibly if this PlayStation 4 one comes off, then I may get that. But I certainly don't have a problem putting these things on. I think to fully get the sort of 3D feel in a game, you have to put in one of these things. So yeah, that's fine. That's that one, Kev. So yeah, that's it, guys. That is all I've really got to talk about. Anything else? I've had a few kind of, my subscribers have gone up a wee bit this week. I think I'm up to 340. So yeah, that's, I mean, it didn't seem long ago that I just got over 300. So I've got another 40, which is excellent. I don't know how that happened. Delighted to see, Kevin, that your subscribers have gone up about 10. I'm not saying for 1 second it's had anything to do with the wee shout out, but you know what, mate, I'm just delighted to kind of help you out. I mean, I had to kind of laugh when you're talking about big channel like myself. I mean, I suppose it's like anything, mate. I mean, you know, I can still remember when I was a lad. I mean, you know, I've only been going just about a year and a half, but when I started off, I mean, you know, getting your first couple of subscribers up to 10 subscribers, it's a big thing. It's a big thing. And you know, it's easy to think of like 340 subscribers as not being very much, and yeah, in the scale of things, it's not much at all compared to some people. You know, PewDiePie, as my daughter likes to remind me, PewDiePie's got 30 million. You know, so yeah. But you know what? I'm sure if we all discussed, I don't know, Minecraft, whatever, you know, our subscribers would go through the roof as well. But we're concentrating on a very minority kind of topic. But yeah, as I mentioned last week, I think it's absolutely no skin off a larger channel's nose to mention a channel that they enjoy watching, because you know, it doesn't cost anything. When you're trying to grow the channel, it's bloody difficult, and it's like a catch-22. Nobody will watch your channel because they don't know you exist. And how do you physically make people know you exist, other than maybe somebody googling something and they go, oh, what's this here, and they click on it. So the easiest way to kind of get recognised is if somebody who's maybe got slightly more viewers mentions the channel, then it's obviously going to help that smaller channel. So I really do wish people would do more shout outs for people, because it's, you know, when you're starting off, it can be very sort of, yeah, what's the right word for it? You think to yourself, what's the point? You know, you're putting out, I mean, I've watched your channel, I've been watching it quite a bit, Kevin. You know, I'm not just saying this, mate, but I think it's the way you come across, the way you put yourself over. You're full of enthusiasm. Even your production values are excellent. And you know, it's the bottom line, guys, is these things like what you're watching just now, all the YouTubers, we all do this completely free. We don't charge a penny. You know, it's hopefully we're providing some sort of entertainment to people. You know, we're not charging anything. So all I would say, guys, if you enjoy watching somebody making a video who makes videos, go and support them, you know, because believe you me, when your subscriber goes up by 1, it's a wee I was prattling on so much there that the battery actually ran out. So anyway, I think that's a sign to wrap it up for another week. Yeah, that's it, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed watching it. Yeah, stick with me. I'm still going to be putting out more of these They Made What videos. I did the second one about Elite. What day was that? Last week, I think it was. I've had a request to do one on Microgen, who did like Pajama Rama and Everyone's a Wally, so that's the one I'm going to do next week. so you can tune in for that. But anyway, I'm prattling on slightly, guys. Have a fantastic weekend. Thank you for watching. Please feel free to like, comment and subscribe. Also, if you've got any topics you want to talk about next week. In fact, somebody actually asked me to, was it Jamie possibly, asked me to, no, in fact it wasn't, it was not Super Bob Jack. You know what, I can't even remember, it doesn't matter. They asked me to name a topic to talk about next week so people can ask questions. So I think the topic I'm going to talk about is going to be classic video games, and I'm talking about Space Invaders, Pac-Man, Defender, any of the real early 80s, 1980s coin-ops. I think we'll talk about that next week. So if you've got any questions that relate to any of these machines, even talk about things yourself, you know, your experiences and memories of them. If you've got anything at all you want to ask me about them, please pop it below. Anything else you want to ask, pop it below as well. That is it. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great weekend.